Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time for another flipped video. This is our second in our series on fractions. So we're going to start with our I can statement tonight, and it is I can compare fractions. Okay, as we get started, we're going to do just a little bit of review. I have a fraction here. I want you to read it with me. We would read this fraction as 3/8, or 3 out of 8. I want to review the names of the fraction. So if we look at the number here on top, that's called the what? I hope you said numerator. And the number here on the bottom is called what? That's right, the denominator. Okay, remember that the denominator tells us how many equal parts we have, and the numerator tells us the part we've selected or the section of the group. Okay, we talked about several different ways to represent a fraction. We talked about using a number line like on a ruler. We talked about making a fraction strip drawing. We talked about a circle model and a groups of or a set model. So will you represent 3/8, and will you do it in two different ways? So use two of those ways we've talked about to show me what 3/8 would look like, and then come back to check. Okay, here are all the different ways that I chose. So I have, here's our groups of model. So I wrote 3/8 of my stars are purple. Over here is my ruler model. I hope that you tried this model out because we're going to be doing a lot of it later. So I drew my number line and I labeled each part. So I have 8 equal parts. So of course the beginning would be 0/8, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, and so on. And remember that 8 out of 8 equals the whole thing, or 1. So then I showed where 3/8 would be. Here's a fraction strip model. We did quite a bit of those in class. So I have 8 equal parts. I've colored in 3, and this would be a circle model. So I have almost like a pie. I've cut it into 8 slices, and I've shaded 3. So those are all the different ways that you can represent a fraction. So don't get stuck thinking about it just as one way. You can do it many different ways. Okay, in class we talked about equivalent fractions, and remember when you hear the word equivalent, it sounds a lot like the word equal, and those are fractions that equal each other. So we talked a lot about things that equal a half. So think in your head, see if you can think of some things that equal half. 5/10 equals a half. 2/4 equals a half. Why don't you jot down a few other things that equal a half? Pause the video. Okay, I can't wait to hear about what else you came up with that equals a half in class. So the new skill is comparing fractions using greater than, less than, or equal to. We talked a lot in class. Remember, the mouth eats the larger number, and the point points to the smaller number. So what we're going to be looking at is making fraction strip drawings to compare fractions. So we're going to do a couple together. So I'm going to start with 3/4. Oops, that didn't work. Helps if I have a pencil. 3/4 and 6/8. So write those two fractions down. Think back to class. We talked a lot about the denominator. What did we learn about the denominator? As it increases, what happens to the size of the piece? As the denominator gets larger, what happens to the size of the piece? I hope you said it gets smaller, because if I have a candy bar and it's cut into 4 slices versus a candy bar that is cut into 8 slices, 4 slices is going to be a lot bigger than 8 slices. So as the denominator increases, the slice of the piece gets smaller. But when the numerators aren't the same, it's hard to tell which is more. So we're going to draw pictures to represent it. So I hope you remember to start out, we're going to draw a big rectangle. So go ahead and draw that. And then we're going to divide that rectangle in half. And then we're just going to represent each of these fractions with the fraction strip drawing. So the first one I have is 3/4. So I need 4 equal pieces. So to do that, I'm going to start by doing it in half. I hope you're doing this with me. You got your paper and your pencil and you're doing it with me. But I need 4 slices. So I'm going to take each half and I'm going to divide it in half. And that way my pieces stay equal. So I have 4 pieces and I'm going to shade in 3 of those. Okay. Now I need 8 pieces. Well, 4 is twice of 8, is double of 8. So I'm going to take my fourths and go ahead and trace them down. And then I'm going to divide those fourths in half in order to get my 8 pieces. And then how many pieces am I going to shade in? My numerator tells me that I'm going to shade in 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, what happened? Those are exactly the same. So how do we show that using our symbols? We're going to say that 3/4 is equal to 6/8. Okay, good. Let's do another example. Okay, here we go with another example. I have 3/5 and 7/10. Okay, so we're going to do our fraction strip drawing. This time it's a little different because it's not an even number. The denominator fifths is not an even number. So I can't divide it in half and then divide it in half again because that would give me an even number and I need an odd. So it's 5. So I'm going to do one less bar than I need spaces. So I need 4 bars and that will give me 5 spaces. So I'm just going to kind of place them out evenly. I need 4 of them. 1 bar, 2 bars, 3 bars, 4 bars. And I'm just doing my best. Those aren't perfect, but I'm doing my best to make them equal. Okay, so if I have fifths here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I want tenths, then I'm going to draw these straight down to get fifths again, and then what am I going to do to get tenths? I hope you said divide those in half, because that would be correct. It's really important that you draw those lines straight down as your first step. Otherwise, your pieces aren't going to be the same size, and that could throw off your answer. So now I shade. So I have 3/5. So I'm going to shade 3 pieces up there, and then I have 7/10. So I'm going to shade 7 down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then I look to see which part is bigger. It looks to me that 7/10 is greater than 3/5. So I'm going to use my greater than symbol. And we're going to move on to another example. I hope you're finding the fractions are really pretty easy. And that you're enjoying them. I like fractions. So here's an example. I want you to try it on your own. It's thirds and sixths. So make your rectangle, divide it into thirds. And then in order to get sixes, you're going to divide each third in half. So try this one and come back to check. We're looking for greater than, less than, or equal to. Okay, here's my fraction strip drawing. You can see that I've shaded in 2/3 of the top fraction strip, and I've shaded in 5/6 of the bottom fraction strip. And I can see that that 5/6 is greater than 2/3. And you can see that that's the symbol that I've chosen. Okay, let's do a couple more practice ones. You guys are doing great. I'm proud of you. Okay, try this one, greater than, less than, or equal to, and come back to check. Okay, you might have even been able to do this one, knowing what you know about equivalent fractions without drawing a fraction strip drawing, because 2/4 is a half, and 4/8 is also a half. So these are all equal to or equivalent to 1/2. So I proved it using my fraction strip drawing. Okay, a few more examples. You guys are awesome. Okay, here's another one for you to try on your own. So prove is this greater than, less than, or equal to using your fraction strip drawings. Okay, here's my answer. I hope you proved that 1/4 is less than 3/8. Good job. Okay, this is our last example. You guys are rocking it out of the park. So prove this one, greater than, less than, or equal to. Okay, I hope that you were able to show that 2/3 and 4/6 are equivalent, or they are equal. Okay, that wraps up this video. So it's time for our, the best part of the video, you know. I know you wait for it the whole time. It's the riddle. Okay, here we go. Why can't your nose be 12 inches long? It's even a math riddle. Why can't your nose be 12 inches long? Because then it would be a foot. Okay, I'll see you in class. Can't wait to talk about your WSQ. We're going to do lots more with this in class. So see you soon. Bye.